Why hello there and welcome to today's video. So for today's video I actually had a really exciting idea that I was thinking I've never seen this before, it's probably gonna be fine, it's gonna be great, and then it turns out that people have been doing it for quite a while. So welcome to my unoriginal idea of a default build. What I mean by a default build is not your typical, oh, it's just base game build. There is an added challenge because it is a base game build, but it is a base game build where you cannot change any of the color swatches on anything. I'm actually not too sure if this also included the outside of the house, since some versions of the rules actually indicate that you need to build a shell of a house or build like a functional house in general, and then you need to decorate it with default items. But I took it way too literally. Everything that you see that I placed down is eventually either going to be changed or going to stay the exact same way because it's already default. So a big example of that was stairs. The stairs that I put at the beginning to actually test out where things are going to go and how the layout is going to be are actually the stairs that I end up keeping, just because they're the only ones that are white that are decent enough that aren't floating, basically. So for the challenge, since you can use anything that you see in any of the build menus, except that you can't use the swatches, it had to be a very traditional house, I would say. There is white windows and there's going to be white doors, just because I can't change it to be like wood tones or specific tones that will actually match with other items in the menu. So everything is going to be very white, but the last thing I would say is that this house is plain or muted. This house actually has a lot more color than I expected it to at first. The common area, surprise surprise, they are going to be a bit plain, but the bedrooms, for example, they ended up being quite colorful. And again, it all came down to what swatches are available as a default build or as a default item. And I actually realized I didn't want to make a single story house and I didn't want to make a super modern house either, since I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull it off with the colors that come in the default swatches. So I decided to go with a bit more traditional yet a bit more modern. It's a mix. I actually went all over the place with decoration since I was going for what do I think looks good. The common areas aren't exactly an open concept living area. I imagine this more as a house that probably has been slowly renovated, slowly modernized, but still has a lot of those aspects of an older house. I think this house would have probably been built maybe in the mid 1900s, give or take. So it's a house that still has some walls. For example, in the living room, there's still walls, mainly because I thought it would be the best placement for a TV rather than anything else. And with all the bedrooms being upstairs and only one full bathroom, I thought, well, maybe this is how this house was originally. Maybe they added a second bathroom by the entrance, stuff like that. It's more of a, they probably started changing some things here and there, but haven't modernized the whole house, and that would explain why there are some crazy colors in some areas, for example. I would say that this house again ended up being way more colorful than I ever expected it to. I would have never done a red dining room, for example, but as I was looking through what was available in default swatches, there wasn't actually a dining table that would have looked not out of place. With that in mind, I ended up going with the glass table. So I decided to go with the red chairs, and that basically set the tone for the rest of the house. I figured, well, the dining room is already colorful enough. The rest of the house is probably going to have some color as well. So in the living room, I ended up putting some red in there as well. It was actually the couch I wanted to use anyways. So it didn't really make that much of a difference that it was red on red. I figured that the common areas maybe had a bit more color, and it ended up being that so did the bedrooms. Because if I did not add color to the bedrooms, it was basically all just going to be white walls. And I didn't really want that for this house. I thought this house is quite small as it is. The challenge of A default challenge is to try to decorate as if you weren't trying to make everything black and white. I did figure that it would be quite easy to make this a very muted house without much of a thought to it. There's a lot of black and whites, more than I expected actually, when you are doing some default buying. A lot of items actually end up having just black and white as their default colors, and it helped a lot when trying to tie rooms together. But at the same time, I was a bit disappointed at that, since it also meant that there were certain things that weren't going to be as colorful as I originally wanted it. But I personally had a lot of fun with this one. It was a layout that I've never tried before. There's even a fake wall by the entrance to try to fit the stairs where I wanted them to be without having to mess up how the outside already looked, since I went outside in this case, since I thought, well, with the way this challenge is, I'm probably not going to be able to get too picky as it is. And lo and behold, I ended up spending, I want to say, somewhere around 2 hours building this house because I was just having so much fun trying to figure out which item would work. I started thinking about this in a way that was like, what if I was actually buying this furniture for my own house and this was the only color it came in? It's not like in The Sims that you can have a single chair in like 15 different colors. So I thought of it more of that way of like, this is the only thing that's in my IKEA catalog. What can I get from here, for example? It was just a whole lot of fun to try to be like, well, but this is going to be black and it doesn't match because everything else is going to be white, or this countertop is hideous in the default swatch, I don't want it, and stuff like that just really, really made it a lot of fun. Where I struggled the most though, and I still am salty about this, are the floors. It sucks so much that I wasn't able to use floors that I actually wanted to use, since there are so many great floors that exist in Sims base game, but a lot of them, the base swatch is hideous. I said it, they're not the best, and this isn't my preferred flooring. It's just a long plank. It seems like it's a flooring that they created thinking that no one would use it for a very big room. It is just flooring that I wasn't really in love with. Let's put it that way. There were just so many things that you take for granted when you are deprived of your choices when you're originally building a house. You're used to building in Sims having so much choice and options, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, you don't have these options anymore. What are you going to do? So it really made me think outside the box, that's for sure, and I don't think I would have been able to pull it off in any other style of house. And it's also a style that I've been wanting to try for a while. I tend to do a lot of more modern builds, but I think it ended up okay. I actually rather like how the house ended up. So let me know what you think about this house. Let me know what you think about the design, about the colors, about the challenge. Maybe you have a new challenge you'd like me to try out, or maybe you have a criticism about the way I did something in the house. I want to hear from you regardless. Let me know what you think down below. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a great weekend.